Greetings, Taku Faithful. Thank you for joining me again this week. Once again, this is Larry Williams, OAW Commander-in-Chief, and I'm here to bring you all a special rant video right here on Otaku Assemble. Weekly, and finally, I'm here to bring you all a rant video. It seems like forever since the last time I did a rant, and I don't even remember what the last one was about, but I do remember you all enjoyed them. They were amongst my most popular, most viewed videos, and given the fact that this is the opening weekend for Batman v Superman, I thought now was as good a time as any to do a new rant. Now, before I jump into this, and for the record, I'm going to try to make this more of a discussion rather than just blatant angry rambling, more of a discussion on my thoughts about Batman v Superman. But I want to go ahead and throw up a couple of disclaimers, few disclaimers. So first disclaimer, number one, if you have already seen my Man of Steel review, and if you've already seen my Justice League podcast, much of what I'm going to discuss in this video you already know about. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing. That means you are coming into it with the right background context for this discussion. And if you haven't seen those videos, please feel free to do so. I'll actually annotate those on the screen below. If you want to go ahead, pause this video and check those out. They are fairly long, so warning, they are pretty long. But in the event that you haven't checked out either my Man of Steel review or my Justice League podcast video, before you watch this video, don't worry. I will be pretty much filling everyone in on my thoughts about it in this video. So don't worry, you all will be caught up. Don't worry about it. Okay, second disclaimer I want to throw up, just so that there isn't a misunderstanding, okay? This video will not be me discussing what I thought about the film, because I have not, nor will I, watch or review Batman v Superman. So I'm just going to go ahead and get that out of the way right here before I jump into this discussion. In case you stumbled across this video hoping to find someone raging about what they thought about the film, this isn't that video. I'm letting you guys know right now. I have not watched it, nor do I plan to watch it, nor do I intend to review it. What this video is pretty much going to be is for my subscribers and my viewers who I know are going to hit me up. Some of you have already done so, asking me to review this film. This is going to be more of why I will not review Batman v Superman, more so about me raging about anything that actually occurred in the film. So that's the second disclaimer. Okay, everybody's on board now. We're all on the same page. All right, excellent. Now let's jump into this. So many of you are probably wondering, like I said, if you haven't seen those previous two videos that I mentioned, why I'm not reviewing Batman v Superman, or why I won't even bother to watch it. Multiple reasons, but the biggest one being I cannot support this film. I cannot support this film, nor do I intend to support any of the upcoming DC Warner Brothers films. And there are multiple reasons for that. The first being because, number one, I do not care for the direction of these films. For those of you all who have seen my Man of Steel review, you all will remember I was already polarized about Man of Steel. I reviewed it right after seeing it for the first time. I was already mixed on it. There were some things about it that I loved, some things about it that I outright hated. Loved the Krypton stuff. I thought that was really well done. I even liked the casting. I thought everybody was well cast, and I thought the performances were fairly good. But the characterization of Superman in that film, that I don't care for it. That's not Superman. I'm sorry, Zack Snyder. I know that he's been trying. I don't know how much effort has gone into that characterization of Superman from his perspective, but I do know him and David Goyer had very cynical views, very pessimistic views of the character beforehand, and their mission with Man of Steel, as I've heard in interviews and as I've seen regurgitated in articles, they wanted to make Superman cool. Okay, here's the thing. Every artist is open to creative liberty, right? Everyone is entitled to their own interpretation of a character or of a property, and by all means, that's within your right, and some people like it, some people don't. I'm just in the group of people that don't care for it. I don't think that Superman needs to be made cool. I don't think there is anything inherently wrong with the character. Now, if what you're talking about is portraying the character in a way that hasn't been done before, maybe you have a new creative vision for that character. To use an example of what I'm talking about, you guys will find this very odd, but for any of you all who have seen the Death of Superman Lives documentary, where they talk about the Superman Lives film that was supposed to be made in the late 90s with Tim Burton and Nicolas Cage. Okay, well, that project, that film, for as odd and peculiar and as different of a Superman as that would have been, Burton was completely within his rights to interpret that character the way he wanted to. And it would have been a much different Superman than what we're used to. It would have been something completely different, something we've never seen before. And it's not really fair to judge whether or not that would have been a good thing or a bad thing because the film was never made. So the reason why I bring that up is because, once again, I just want to reiterate, Snyder, Goyer, everyone involved with that Man of Steel film were completely within their creative rights to make it the way they wanted to. I personally did not care for it. I think they did not understand what made Superman Superman. I don't think they have a good grip of the character. They don't have it. They just don't. They don't understand it. And once again, when I said that they went into it with this cynical or pessimistic view of the character, pretty much their canon of the character is this misguided and I think misinformed, more so than anything, this misinformed constituents of this public perception of what Superman as a character is. Any of you all who have read any type of online blog or message board or any memes, I mean, you don't have to go very far online to find these opinions about Superman that I'm talking about. Oh, he's unrealistic. He's unrelatable. He's overpowered. He's a Boy Scout. He's boring. This, that, and the other. All of these things. And by and large, I think that is due to misinformation. These people do not have the right information. I think Snyder and Goyer came out of that same group. And so what we ended up getting was a cynical and pessimistic interpretation of the character. And the thing is, the entire world, this entire universe that they are setting up for the DC shared universe, okay, it all has that canon with it. The whole premise behind Batman v Superman is that, you know, it's this thing like Superman's been made public enemy #1 because of the events that happened at the end of Man of Steel. And that's the main reason why Batman is at conflict with him, because of all the collateral damage that happened in Man of Steel and this, that, and the other. Superman is a feared figure. Everyone thinks that, oh, he can't be trusted and this, that, and the other. And all of that comes from that same collective mindset about the character. Now, the counter argument to that is, oh, it's more of a realistic telling. Like, if someone like Superman actually existed in our world, what would it be like? If that's what they were going for, okay, that's on them. I do not co-sign to that train of thought. I don't believe that. I don't believe that, and I don't care to see the character portrayed in that light. Now, that's not to say that this hasn't been done in the comics before. It has, very much so. For anyone who has seen the DC animated film Superman vs. the Elite, which is based off of the story What About Truth, Justice, and all that other stuff. Okay, that whole story dealt with that, where we had a world full of people who felt that, oh, Superman is soft, and, you know, the fact that he doesn't kill any of these villains, the way he crime fights, it's not effective, and la 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 la. And what ends up happening, they turn to a group of so-called heroes. They're really anti-heroes, who they do not mind killing villains. They do not mind creating collateral damage. They don't care about their public persona and all these type of things. They don't really have values. And it's that classic argument about, oh, you know, Superman to use a line from The Dark Knight, he's not the hero we deserve, but he is the one we need, and all that type of thing. So anyway, not to ramble on too much further. So with Man of Steel, like I said, that by and large is the main reason why I do not wish to partake in any of these films, because all of the films are still set in that same world. And if there's going to be that collective mindset amongst the characters in these films, I don't want to be part of it. I don't want any part of it. Now, of course, Man of Steel has all of its other problems, which I addressed in my Man of Steel review. It is poorly written. Some of the characters are poorly written. You know, of course, Jonathan Kent, Martha Kent, both of which poorly written. I wasn't one of the people who thought that Amy Adams as Lois Lane and her whole story, I didn't find anything wrong with that. I didn't find anything wrong with the Krypton stuff, really. But at the end of the day, poor writing. It was all just so we could set up these huge, CG-driven action sequences. Some people, I have friends who they absolutely loved it because that was the type of Superman story they've been waiting for. Me, I didn't really need that, Superman, it's no secret if you follow my videos and if you've heard me talk about the character before. He's my favorite superhero of all time. Favorite superhero, and definitely one of my favorite fictional characters, period. Okay? Now, I do know enough of myself to, sort of separate my attachment with a character and to be able to look at an adaptation or a piece of art, whether it be a film, a cartoon, a comic, a graphic novel, what have you, I know enough to sort of remove my personal attachment to evaluate it for what it was. Still, as I said, objectively speaking, Man of Steel is a poor film. It is. So, anyway, so going into Batman v Superman, when this was first announced, of course, I was already sort of against it from jump, because originally it was supposed to be the Man of Steel sequel, but because Man of Steel underperformed and because of the mediocre reviews it got, no one at Warner Brothers can deny this, because it was so transparent. You couldn't deny it. You couldn't look away from it. You threw Batman in there because you needed to make money. You were like, oh, not enough people went and saw this film. People were polarized on it. Oh, it was because it was Superman and people don't like Superman. Throw Batman in it. And that's why we got this. Now, whatever happened behind the scenes after that point is another story. I'm talking about conceptually. This movie only exists for throw Batman in there and we can make our money. That's it. I haven't heard a single counter argument that would suggest anything other than that's why they did it what they did. Now, they decided to go ahead and catapult the entire DC shared universe off of this, which is perfectly fine. Them not following the Marvel format that made the MCU so successful. Okay, that's perfectly fine. Once again, I am one of the people that said, Warner Brothers could have done the exact same thing that Marvel did, individual films, all leading up to the big team-up film. I think they could have done the exact same thing and would have been perfectly fine. I don't think they needed to do it any differently just for the sake of doing it differently. This whole thing about, oh, they have something to prove, they have a chip on their shoulder, they're behind, all of that's true. But at the end of the day, I still don't think that if they would have just went ahead and copied Marvel, it would have turned out badly. I don't think so. Why? Because you have the most popular superheroes of all time. Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman. The most popular ones of all time. Hell, your company invented the concept of the superhero. I think they would have been perfectly fine even if they would have just followed Marvel step for step. I'm not one of the ones who would have really held that against them. But so all of the stuff that went into, I've been following the film during its development, during production, this, that, and the other, and I was reluctant on it the entire time because I didn't like what I was hearing. Once again, after finding out about all the stuff that happened with Man of Steel, with, you know, how Goyer and Snyder changed the ending, how they took all these creative liberties that the Nolans hadn't signed on for, and then of course Warner Brothers gives them the keys to the kingdom. And once I found that out, I'm like, okay, so every film is going to pretty much be like Man of Steel, because you just pretty much let the inmates run the asylum, and there is no check and balance against them. Now, there have been a lot of shifts. You know, Goyer is no longer involved in all of these films like he previously was signed on to do. Same thing with Snyder. Snyder's not involved with with all of the films that he was previously supposed to be a part of. They were supposed to be in charge of doing the entire shared universe, and now I think Snyder is only doing the Justice League films. They brought in Ben Affleck. He's going to be doing the Batman films. Once again, I love Ben Affleck. I think he's a great actor. I think he's a good writer. I think he's a good director. They brought in the writer from Argo. He's going to be doing the Batman films. I think that's all good. You know, there's a lot of good talent involved with these films, but at the end of the day, the vision for this shared universe, I don't care for. Zack Snyder, I think he's a good director. I do. I think he's a good director. I think he's, here's another thing though. You have to understand this. This is very important. This is very key. Okay, Zack Snyder, he's a good director. I love his artistic, I love his aesthetics, okay? I think he makes beautiful films, and that's fine and dandy. But when it comes to being a storyteller, Snyder is not a storyteller. He's an idea guy, yes, but he's not a storyteller, okay? He does a really good job at adapting material that is already laid out for him, as we saw with 300, as we saw with Legends of the Guardians, The Isles of Ga'Hoole, as we saw with Watchmen, the Dawn of the Dead remake. If the story is already laid out for him, he can take it and roll with it, and it'll be great. But in terms of creating a story, in terms of writing it himself, he cannot fucking do it. We saw that with Sucker Punch, which was his original script. And that film, for all the great ideas, it's loaded with genius concepts and stricken with poor execution. Even with Man of Steel, and you had Jonathan Nolan writing part of that, half of that script. Even with that, same thing. Some really good fucking ideas, especially with the Kryptonian stuff. Real good ideas, stricken by poor execution. And from what I've heard about Batman v Superman, same thing. Some good ideas, terrible execution. All right, so given that, I'm not going to be spending, my money, and I'm not going to be spending years of my life having to do that shit. I'm not doing it. So yeah, I'm not doing that. Now, the fact that Goyer's not involved, because see, Goyer, that's the same thing, dude. Goyer is such a mystery for me, because that man has written some stuff that I really like, and he's written some stuff that I've downright hated. And, it seems like, I don't know why they keep going to him, why they trust him with all this material. I mean, yes, he was involved in the Nolan trilogy, and that was a mega hit, so do they think, oh, because he did that for us, that... Here's the thing, and I really wish Warner Brothers would get this under their head, because even though this has nothing to do with the Nolan films, and they've made it a point of saying none of this is going to be the Nolan stuff, you are still piggybacking off of what that man did in the Dark Knight trilogy. Let me tell you something, that worked great for Batman, but you cannot use that recipe for every fucking film and for every character. You can't do it. You cannot make spaghetti and meatballs with a recipe for brownies. You can't fucking do it. You can make lasagna, but not spaghetti and meatballs. They're two completely different fucking things. And Warner's, they don't seem to understand that, because even, the Nolans are gone. They're like, we're out. We bounced. We're done with this. But... Alright. So, anything else I wanted to touch on? Because I've already infuriated myself so much, I've lost my train of thought. And I only got 10 minutes left for this video. So, okay, so I guess, all right, let's see. So, okay, so this would be a good topic to bring up. So why am I so adamantly against these films? You know, it's one thing to just, you know, not want, you know, it's one thing to be like, oh, you know, that's just not my cup of tea and I'm going to pass on it. But if you guys have stuck along this long in this video, you get the sense that, no, this isn't just, oh, it's something you don't like, so you choose not to participate. Larry, you seem to be pretty vehement about not doing this. You're pretty against it. And yes, I am. And here's the reason why. For any of you all who have been following my videos back to, I believe it was 2011, and for any of you all who might have seen this video, I did a rant called My Problems with Hollywood. And in that video, I talked a lot about some of the practices in Hollywood that I don't care for. Some of the things I think that Hollywood executives, you know, them being out of touch, not only with the filmmakers and with the actors and with the crews, the people who are actually making the film, but even with the audiences themselves. You know, there is a lot of times you'll see it, there's a huge disconnect. And I think that has to do, you know, because let's face it, Hollywood execs, their only real job is to make money, and that's their only real concern, and I understand that. These are businessmen. These are not artists. These are not filmmakers. And some of them aren't even avid film fans, okay? So, yeah, that disconnect will always be there. Okay, but the other thing I talked about in that video, and it was the real point I wanted to get across to my viewers who saw that video, is that, you know, for all of the practices and mispractices of Hollywood, the one rule, the one thing that controls it all, the one ring to rule them all, is the dollar. And that whole rant was about getting people to kind of understand. It's like, look, support what you like, pay for what you like, because, and hopefully, I mean, granted, everyone's taste and everyone's opinions are different, but my whole thing was, it's like, I hope that at some point people will, you know, studios will see that, you know, if you make a poor film, it's going to produce a poor return, and hopefully that would prevent you from wanting to make poor films in the future. Now, that's not always the case, because we have multi-million dollar blockbusters. I mean, hell, Michael Bay proves that wrong every time he releases a film, because most of his films are garbage, but they make millions upon millions of dollars. They're highly successful, and so they keep making them. I mean, hell, we got like 3 more Transformers films we're going to be getting, or maybe it's 4, because they're like 5, 6, 7, and 8. We're supposed to get like 4 more Transformers films, and I have absolutely no doubt in my mind Batman v Superman will be the same thing. I've already heard it's gotten bad reviews. I've already read some of the reviews. I've already heard what people are saying about it. It doesn't matter. It's Batman and Superman on screen for the first time. It's going to be, it probably will be a $1 billion movie. Probably. And seeing as how Warner Brothers already has so much money invested in the rest of the DC films, they're going to continue to follow suit. Not yet. They probably will do the whole, oh, we messed up in this one thing, we have to make sure we correct it in the next film, like they did with Man of Steel and with this. But, you know, that's sort of a monster that's not going to be fought at any point in time. That dragon will not be slain at no point in time, okay? But, once again, the main point of that My Problems with Hollywood rant, I want people to support what they like. If they like it, and if they want to see more films like it, support what you like, okay? And given that I made such a strong stance about that back then, and I've already gone on record saying I'm not going to invest any of my time or money in this new DC shared universe. I just can't do it. For that reason, I am not going to spend money supporting films that I do not want to see be made. That's it. And the reason why I'm so adamant about that is because I am a huge avid film fan. Hell, I'm a writer, not just with comics. I've written screenplays before. Okay, I've worked on films, short films, and things of that nature before. So I have a personal investment in the industry, and I want to see the best and the cream of the crop rise to the top. And I want to see films that are good. I want to see them be made successful. But as I mentioned before, you know, I'm a comic book writer. That's what I do. That's what I want to do as a career. That's what I do as a career. That's what I pursue. And even beyond that, I am a huge DC fan. If you guys ask me, you probably can't tell based off of the videos I have on my channel. I like DC more than Marvel. You probably couldn't tell because I praise most of Marvel's films. Why? Because they're fucking good. Whereas when it comes to DC's films, and I don't understand why there's this huge disconnect between what's happening on film and what's happening on television. All of DC's television stuff, the CW shows, the Arrowverse, Arrow, Flash, Legends of Tomorrow, hell, even Supergirl. That shit is fantastic. The films, on the other hand, I don't know what the fuck is going on there. I just don't. I don't get it. I don't understand why that disconnect is there. And so yeah, like I love these characters. I came up with DC. I am a DC guy. To see them perverted on screen time and time and time again the way that they have been, I mean, this shit's got to stop, man. And finally, you know, I'm at the point now, you know, it's one thing when you're a kid, because of course you don't have this sort of cultural backpack. You know, you aren't as knowledgeable about these types of things. So when you're a kid, it's a little bit different. Also, it's not your money that's being spent, you know, on these films. But when you're an adult, once you get to that level, once you start caring about the entertainment that you do partake in, once you start being invested in that sort of thing, the last thing you want to do is spend your hard-earned cash on shit time and time and time and time again. You don't want to do that. I got tired of going to see DC movies in films and always coming out feeling disappointed. Whereas Marvel, on the other hand, I know what I'm getting going in, and then they're surpassing expectations. You know, Winter Soldier, Guardians, surpassed expectations, and they keep doing it time and time and time and time again. You know, say what you will about Marvel, say what you will about their practices, say what you will about Disney's involvement and all that type of shit. They have the secret recipe to success, and it's been working, and it's been paying off dividends for them. Why Warner Brothers has not figured that shit out yet, I have absolutely no clue. But I'm not sticking around. I'm not sticking around to partake in it. I'm not going to be part of that bandwagon. I'm sorry. I'm just not doing it. I'm not fucking doing it. Okay? I'm not doing it. All right. So I'm almost out of time. Yeah, I'm just about out of time. So, wow, that actually did turn into a rant. So anyway, I hope this sort of clears up anything for, you know, those of my viewers and my subscribers who wondering why I'm not doing a Batman v Superman review, why I'm so adamantly against that. And really, I can keep talking about this on and on and on and on. Personally, I don't feel like doing that anymore. You know, I try to spend less time talking about the stuff I don't like and more time talking about the stuff I do like. So we're just gonna go ahead and leave it at that. Now, once again, as I stated before, and as you can attest to in this video, I did not talk about the film itself. I didn't talk about anything in the actual film, okay, because I haven't seen it. I'm sure by now many of you all have seen it, and please feel free, leave your comments, leave your thoughts about the film. If you want to go ahead, start the discourse in the comments below.